tapping into your intuition. Welcome to the Hopefulist with me, Wendy McClure. This is where we turn those nasty, negative thoughts into positive and work toward a happy, fulfilled life. Now, let's get started. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Hopefulist. I hope the day finds you well, and I really appreciate your tuning in. Starting out with the quote of the day from my trusty You Are a Badass daily calendar. Faith requires patience. All seeds have a gestation period, and it's up to the universe, not us, how long that period is. Getting all uptight and freaked out doesn't make it go any faster. Put 3 things in place to help you stay patient while keeping your faith strong. Here are some options. Practice deep breathing anytime you feel yourself starting to freak out. Repeating a mantra like, "It's a comin', I can feel it." Soak in the feelings of how it will be once it arrives. Get super specific and have these types of tools at the ready. Because remember, what you focus on, you create more of. So focusing on impatience equals lack, equals pushing it away. Choose what to focus on to strengthen your faith and patience, and you will be victorious. That's what we all want to be, right? Victorious. So take my girl Jen's words to heart. Be patient. Your time will come. Speaking of faith, how much do you think about your intuition? Have you ever sat back and thought about those big decisions that have shaped your life and wonder how different your life would be if you had made a different choice? I do this often, as it always fills me with a sense of wonder and gratitude for the choices I've made. I love my life and where I live, and I wonder where I would be if I had made some different choices throughout my life. Now, I truly believe I am right where I am supposed to be. So I look back and realize I always had the intuition to pick the right thing. I knew somewhere deep down that it was what I was supposed to do. One of the first examples when I think about this is when I had an interview with Q102 in Philadelphia. It was for a promotions representative. I remember I had gone out the night before and picked up a magazine called The Cosmo Guide for the College Grad. I was in my 20s. I remember reading that in that magazine, that during an interview, you should show enthusiasm for the job. And being that I was a pessimist and not naturally a very enthusiastic person at the time, I decided to up my game in that department based on what I read. I was really excited and talked about how awesome it would be to become part of the team. Now, it turns out the person who interviewed me loved enthusiasm. She was literally the cheerleader of the radio station. It worked, and she offered me the job. I sometimes wonder what would have happened had I not bought that magazine the night before and upped my game. Because until then, I really honestly thought that you should be serious, straight out serious at a job interview. I thought that the enthusiasm game was not the time to bring that out. So I'm glad I bought that magazine. Then I had a big decision to make because that was not the only job I was offered at the time. Oh, no, it was not. I had set a timeline for trying to find a job in the music business after graduating college. It was coming in hard on that end date. So I was literally a resume machine. I remember one week I sent out 70 resumes. And this was back before, we had our own printers at home, and you still, went out and got the more expensive cool resume paper, and you had to actually put them in the mail. And yeah, and if you had a typo on one of your resumes, then all of your resumes had a typo because, you didn't it wasn't as easy as it is now. So I was churning them out to anything that had to do with music at all. My initial dream was to work for a record company. So I had sent my resume to all the major labels right away. I actually got a call from a woman one day who said when she looked at my resume, it reminded her of herself. So although she didn't have a job for me, she wanted to offer me some advice on how to get my foot in the door because I was trying to get into a very high sought-after field. I always look back and think how cool it was for her to have done that. She was the one that suggested I contact local radio stations about doing work for them in any capacity possible. The other strange thing that happened around the time was I only sent my resume to stations that I liked. I'd never listened to Q102 because it had mainly been a rap station, which, just not my thing. But I saw a commercial on TV for their new morning show, and they were playing Stone Temple Pilots in the background. And I thought, maybe they changed their format. So they were added to my list of resumes going out. I often marvel, that is, at seemingly little things like this that line up to bring major changes. Like I said, what if I hadn't bought that magazine? What if I hadn't seen that commercial? Around the same time I interviewed with Q102, I had also met with a group that were concert promoters in the area. It seemed like a really interesting job. It was, very small company, but it paid $2 more than an hour than the radio station. And let me tell you, that $2 an hour would have made a huge difference in my life at the time. But something told me to take the lower paying radio station job. Obviously, it was more high profile, but I also thought it just offered more learning opportunities. It was one of the first major decisions between two good options in my life, and I have never regretted it. I don't know where I would be right now if I had taken the concert promoter job. I could be the biggest, best concert promoter in the country. You never know. But I'm okay with the decision that I made. Years later, I had another big decision to make that I truly believe shaped my life forever. I'd gotten a job as a morning show co-host at a radio station because at this time I had given up my dream of being a record promoter, working for a record company. And that was hard to switch, too. I have to tell you, I really struggled with that for the longest time. And then a friend of mine at work had said to me one day, he's like, Wendy, you're allowed to change your dream. Oh, amazing. You are allowed to change your dream. So I was working as a morning show co-host at a radio station at the Jersey Shore. I was thrilled. I loved the shore. I went there all through my life every summer and just felt different when I was there, just happier and more peaceful. The radio station was located in Manahawkin, New Jersey, which was right over the bridge from Long Beach Island. A shore town I had not spent much time in, but was surrounded by water, just like the other South Jersey Shore, so I was good. The problem was that every other person that worked there, the only people I knew in this town, lived in Toms River. Really wanted to get a place on Long Beach Island because I had always wanted to live at the shore for a summer, so I was game to give it a go year-round. I had it narrowed down to 2 places. Pretty nice place in Toms River, in a complex that would take care of the trash, the snow removal, all of that kind of stuff, close to the people that I knew. I was in my early 30s. I was single. I was still ready to, socialize and be out in the world. Or a pretty rundown private place on Long Beach Island, but had a view of the bay from every window in the house. I think most people probably would have chosen the nicer place in Toms River, but I decided my environment outside was more important than my surroundings inside. Not to mention, I made it pretty inside. Come on, I'm a girl. So off to Long Beach Island, I moved. That first winter, whoa, it was very lonely, I have to say. Not to mention the 31 inches of snow we got that February that I had to shovel myself. I was thinking of that Tom's River apartment longingly that day. But that snowstorm had me meet a lot of my neighbors. And suddenly I had a friend or two. The next thing that I did was, and this was very out of character for me, I decided to apply for a bartending job at one of the local hotspots. And guess what? I got the gig. I was a pretty terrible bartender. But I met so many people working that job. Friends that I still keep in touch with to this day. People that became my social network for all the years that I lived here. I came into my own while living on Long Beach Island. I was kept busy with 2 jobs and a new circle of friends that had me hanging out all the time. I had a group of friends that I got together with twice a week to play pool. Another thing I was terrible at playing pool. I was their little project to help improve. One rule while playing against me was you had to bank the 8 ball in order to end the game to make it more fair. I had also befriended an older couple that lived down the street from me. We were all major Eagles fans. Go Birds! So we always went out to watch the games together, where I met even more people. There were also 2 women who had lived here for many years and took me under their wing. Whenever they went out, which was a lot, they would call me and even pick me up on their way. I was suddenly a social butterfly and loving every minute. After 4 glorious years living at the Jersey Shore, I had yet another decision to make. The traffic company that I had worked for in the past in Philadelphia was looking for people. I talked to the general manager. He wanted me to come back. I had changed jobs while living at the shore and was making much less money than when I first started in the area. And as much as I loved living at the shore, it was kind of hard to make ends meet on my salary. So I opted to go back to Philadelphia with a $10,000 a year raise. Being back in Philadelphia was much different. There wasn't as much to do socially, and I mean that just because it's harder to be active when you live in the city. Because you have to travel to places to engage in activities instead. You know what I mean? Like I could go to a bar that was right down the street, but I'm talking about going out for a bike ride or, hitting the kayak or all of that. So I would have to get my bike, put it on my car, drive somewhere, which I did. That is also when I got my dog Tucker, who got me out of the house a whole lot. She was the happiest, friendliest dog ever, still is, and constantly went up to people on our walks to say hi. Brought me out of my shell a little bit, right? But eventually we settled back in Bucks County, which is my hometown, me and Tucker. And around the same time, I had the opportunity to start working for a radio station through the traffic center that I had grown up listening to. The people there were welcoming and eager to have me as part of the morning crew. And this is when a lot of my old friends really got to hear me on the air doing my thing. I got to tell you, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Then I started dating my now husband. I'd known my husband since 4th grade when I became friends with his sister, but we had never gotten together until then. So I thought it was pretty clear I was meant to be back in the Philly area. I often wonder how my life would look if I hadn't decided to come back to Philadelphia, which I really did not want to do. But sometimes it is about the money. And that is where I needed to go at that time in my life. The next big decision is what led me back to where I belong, at the Jersey Shore. My husband and I were in a position where we put our condo up for sale, not expecting to get our asking price. We actually got an offer within 5 days, but we didn't have a place to go to. We talked about renting a place locally or finding a place at the Jersey Shore to see if we could handle the commute to and from work. Now, we had spent time at the Jersey Shore as a couple before. We had been renting places and stuff. So Joe knew the area. We both loved the area. And obviously, we picked the shore. And within 2 years, we started looking for a house to actually purchase. when I look back on the major decisions and the major choices I had and how they helped to shape who I am, I realized that I've always known deep inside what I should do. Whether it came to my career, where I lived, how I conducted my social life, there was always something tugging at me in which direction to go, which choice should be made. And I still wonder often, because I really do think this was the major decision in my life. Where would I be right now if I had taken that apartment in Toms River? I sure don't think I would be living where I am right now. So look back on some of the major decisions in your life. How hard was it to make the choice that you did? Is it something you knew was right all along, though it seemed wrong at the time? Like I said, everything told me to take that Toms River apartment. All the people I knew were there. You know, it was an apartment complex, would take care of all of the outside needs. But something just told me, take that apartment in Long Beach Island. When you sit still and really weigh things out to what is most important to you, the answer is almost always clear. It's a time to get still and quiet and tap into that intuition. There you go. If you are interested in some extra help on transforming your negative thoughts into positive and live a much happier life, I want to be your personal positivity trainer. Please go to thehopefulist.com, click on training. All of the information is right there on how to schedule a discovery call to see if we are the right fit for each other. If you like this episode, please go ahead and hit that follow button. Leave me a review and share it with your friends. I would be most appreciative. And go on out there and have your best week ever. Be badass. I'm here cheering you on. Thank you for listening to The Hopefulist. Now, don't you feel good? Make sure you come back next week. See you then.